Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Who do you think, based on his intellectual qualities, could confuse a goat with a dog? Of course, Karen. That's what our first story will be about. But don't worry, no animals got hurt. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Crazy Karen tried to steal my goat. This happened in 2003 when I was 13. It's a long intro, but important for the story. We lived on a farm, and my mother rescued animals, and about purebred dogs and horses to breed and to show. We had 50-plus animals at any given time, but none were in cages. We had the space for them to roam around the property. We'd been doing this since I was 10, so I helped deliver my fair share of puppies and kittens. And then came the goats when I was 13. There were 50 white Angora goats in need of a new home after another farm closed down. We had the space, so we took them, and not long after that came breeding season. Some of the goats were too old to breed anymore, so they were separated from the other goats and bucks while everything went down. A few weeks later, we could see which were pregnant, so we started to make separate areas for them to settle into while they were pregnant and for when they had their kids. We had 15 pregnant goats. A few of the does were first-time moms. Some of them took to it quite well when the kids were born, but 2 of them rejected their kids. Angora goats only have 1 kid at a time on average. We tried to put those 2 kids with another family, but they didn't want them. So we had 2 choices. Put them down or hand raise them. I chose option B. There was a boy who I named Stitch and a girl who I named Lilo. I did the whole thing on my own, getting up every 5 hours to feed them and clean their pen. We kept them inside. After 3 weeks of me doing this, the goats became very attached to me, but mostly Lilo, who would follow me around the farm during the day, whereas Stitch would play with the other baby goats. After 10 weeks, I'd weaned them both off the bottle and they were ready to join the flock, which Stitch gladly did, but not Lilo. She got on better with the cats and dogs than she did with the other goats. She would follow me around everywhere and would start bleating, crying if I left the farm. So one day, I took her for a walk. I had a dog harness her size, so I put it on her with a leash. I had no clue how she'd respond to this. She'd never left the farm before, let alone had a harness on. But she took to it straight away. It was like she was so happy to be with me that she didn't notice the harness. Along the first walk down the driveway, one of my neighbors complimented me on my well-trained goat, LOL. Lilo absolutely loved it, so I made it a daily thing. Every day when I got home from school, I'd take her for a walk around town, and within a week I didn't worry about the harness or a lead. She would just trot along beside me with her tail wagging like mad. And then came Karen. We went down to the creek with me sitting and watching, Lilo playing in the water. The creek was at the back of a tennis court that sat beside a sports field. There was a cricket match going on that day, but unless you walked off the field, you couldn't see the creek, so I was out of sight. Or so I thought. I heard someone walking up to me, so I turned to say hello. I didn't recognize her, so she must have been from out of town, or a friend of someone from town. Karen. Hi, nice day, isn't it? Me, uncomfortable. Yeah, it is. Karen, do you live on a farm? Me, yeah, just up the road. Karen, do you have dogs? I'm looking to get a puppy for my son. Me, we don't have puppies right now, but we should have some in a few months from now. Karen, can I have yours? Pointing to Lilo. Me, that's a goat. From a distance, I guess she could be mistaken for a dog, but not when you really looked. Karen, don't talk to me like that. I've seen you walking your dog around town. Now give me the dog. Me. Excuse me? That is a goat. And no, you can't have her. We have other baby goats you can have instead if you really want one. Karen, after really looking and realizing it's a goat and not a dog, I don't like your tone, young lady. What would your mother think if she knew you were talking to me like this? Me. You can go ahead and ask her yourself if you want, but it's your funeral, pointing in the general direction of the farm, knowing what my mom's reaction would be to this woman if she tried to say anything to her. Karen, how dare you? I'll teach you for disrespecting me. Karen proceeded to whistle and call out to my goat in the way you would a dog, expecting Lilo to come to her. When this didn't work, she walked over and attempted to pick her up. Here's the thing about goats. They're fast little buggers. If you think you're going to catch one that doesn't want to be caught, you're in for a rude awakening. Lilo sprinted away from Karen and went in my direction. I picked her up and began to walk away with Karen muttering profanities under her breath at me and her failed attempt at kidnapping my goat. I was worried she might follow me home, so I took a detour through another property that joins up to the creek and then to our property at the back of the creek. Even if she was to follow me, it's easy to get lost when going this way if you haven't done it before. I never saw Karen again after that, but it didn't discourage me from walking my goat. She was smart and loyal and damn fast when she wanted to be. Most of the time she'd be walking me, which is part of the reason why I took her off the leash. A message to all the Karens out there: don't steal goats. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. And our second story. I want your Jeep for free because I have debts. So this happened around Christmas and involves a person that my family has chosen wisely to ignore. The person in question is a mother with 2 children who are old enough to be working but have decided to party at her expense, and she's proven to be the kind of person who asks for money but never returns it. Her reputation is well known among the entire family, and she's already scammed a few of her own relatives before. The situation revolves around a vehicle that one relative decided to sell. It's a 2014 Jeep Patriot in excellent condition and not that many miles. This person was selling it for almost half the price he got it for back in the day, and this information reached the ears of Ursula, who chose this past Christmas family reunion to do her move. Here's more or less how the conversation went. Ursula: I hear you're selling your Jeep. Have you sold it yet? Relative: no, but a couple of people want to see it during the weekend. Ursula: oh, well, I'm interested in it. Relative: you are? Well, if that's the case, the price is insert reasonable amount of money. Ursula: well, you see, I don't have the money as I have many debts to pay, so would you mind giving it to me? I have no car at the moment, and that vehicle's in excellent condition. Relative: are you serious? I won't give you the Jeep for free, especially not to you. Ursula: oh, but come on, I really need it. My 2 kids are always needing me to take them somewhere, but my car's broken now. I'll do a parenthesis to explain this. This person has a car that's almost from the early 2000s and has barely given it any sort of maintenance whatsoever. Thus, it's a miracle nowadays if the thing doesn't break down after an hour or 2. Bites me why she hasn't gotten a new one. Relative: I won't give it to you for free. Either you pay the money or there's no deal. Ursula: but, fine, let's do this. I'll give you a prepayment for the car, you give it to me, then when I have the rest of the money, I'll finish paying you. Relative: no, I won't accept anything like that. Either you give me all the money in one single payment or no deal. Ursula: but I don't have the amount of money. I'm still paying my debts as of today. Relative: well, then you should consider getting a more affordable car that suits your budget instead of the Jeep. Ursula: but your car is so well kept and in really good shape. Besides, we're family. Relative: so what? You're not known for being good at paying anyways. This conversation carried on for quite some time, after which she went for my mom and her younger sister. They both feel pity for her situation, but as my mom had already been scammed by her, she refuses to help her in any form. Her sister, sadly, is still believing in this Ursula, hence the reason why Ursula ended up telling her to convince my relative to sell his car to her. In the end, the Christmas reunion ended with both the Ursula and my aunt getting the scolding of a lifetime. Ursula for her irresponsible behavior, and my aunt for meddling into this. We all later found out that Ursula got a pretty big paycheck around that time for an end-of-the-year bonus at her workplace, one that went well above the price of the car. So she makes decent money, but she spends it all as soon as she gets it, I'm guessing. And our final story, in which we tell you about the most unusual way to get rid of a housekeeper who was stealing money from the people she worked for. Grandpa's revenge. The years of experience trained him well. A couple of years ago, my grandpa, Lebanese, hired a migrant, not Lebanese, housemaid to help my grandma with her daily chores. A couple of weeks after hiring her, money left unattended began to disappear around the house. If you're asking yourself why he didn't fire her on the spot, the answer is no proof and breach of contract. He'll have to pay penalties, fees, etc. This is where the years of experience come into play. The old man goes out one morning and returns a bit later and fakes looking a bit on edge. He comes in and doesn't greet my grandma and goes straight to his room, making sure that the maid saw him go in, and lays a brown bag in a drawer that no one usually uses. Knowing that she saw what happened, he acts normal and does what normal old people do during the day. That same day, in the late afternoon, the maid and her passport disappear along with the brown bag. Noticing that my grandma is a little worried, he tells her not to worry about her and that she's safe and probably on a plane back to her country. He calls my aunt and asks if she can hire a new maid for them. My aunt asks why, and he responds the following. She was stealing money. I went and bought a lot of old Lebanese paper currency, worthless real old paper money from before the inflation, then put it in a bag. She thought she hit the jackpot, stole them, and went back to her country. Old age and treachery will beat youth and inexperience every time. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.